You can't really browse the internet these days without seeing some new headline crowning a champion in the global AI race. But is it really that simple? The truth is, the question of who's winning is way more complex than you might think. So let's break it all down.
All right, so let's just ask it straight up. Who is winning the AI race? It feels like a simple question, right? But the answer is surprisingly complicated. To even try to find it, we first have to figure out what this race actually is and what winning would even mean.
First thing you gotta do is just forget the space race. That had a clear finish line, right? Land on the moon, plant a flag, boom, you're done. AI? It's nothing like that. It's this constantly shifting, moving frontier with no single endpoint in sight. And that changes everything.
To really get a handle on who's out in front, we have to realize this isn't just one single race. It's more like a multi-front competition, with a whole bunch of different races happening all at once.
Think of it less like a sprint and more like a decathlon. You've got the race for pure technological power, the push to get AI integrated into our society, the huge battle over who gets to write the ethical rulebook, and this kind of covert struggle for hardware dominance. Winning in one of those doesn't mean you'll win in the other.
Okay, so let's dive into the first race. This is the one that gets all the headlines, the one everyone's talking about: raw capability. This is the big quest to build the most powerful AI models, where every single breakthrough is front-page news.
But here's the thing that might surprise you. This isn't really a battle between nations, not like the old days. The real fight for AI supremacy? Well, that's being waged by just a handful of massive corporations.
We're talking about the absolute heavyweights here: Google, xAI, Anthropic, OpenAI, and Meta. I mean, these guys have the perfect storm of resources. We're talking capital, data, top talent, and just mind-boggling computing power to build what comes next.
So, how do these titans actually stack up against each other? Well, if we look at the Alameda leaderboard, which, by the way, is kind of the gold standard for this stuff, you can see Google's Gemini 3 Pro is sitting at the top, mostly thanks to its incredible reasoning skills. But man, the competition is right on its heels.
And if you look at this chart, you can see just how ridiculously close it is. Yeah, Google has a slight edge, but look, xAI's Grok and Anthropic's Claude are breathing right down its neck. A single new breakthrough could completely shuffle this deck. So in this race for pure power, the big US corporate labs are ahead, but their lead is anything but secure.
But, having the most powerful model is one thing. Actually using it in the real world, that's a whole different ballgame. And that brings us to our second race, the race for application. Who's the best at weaving AI into the fabric of our daily lives? And right away, you see these two totally different playbooks emerge. In the US, it's all about the free market, right? Innovation is driven by what consumers want and what venture capitalists are willing to fund. China, on the other hand, has this very top-down approach. It's a national strategy backed by the full power of the state. And this state-driven strategy has given China a massive leg up in some really key areas. Because they have these enormous data sets and can deploy things super fast, they're absolutely leading the way in things like smart cities, mobile payments, and industrial automation. In this arena, China is a real powerhouse.
Okay, so we have capability, we have application, but there's this other kind of sneakier race going on in the background. It's not about code, it's about power. It's the race to write the rulebook for our AI-powered future.
So you've got the US and China in this heavyweight fight for tech dominance, right? They want to build the biggest, most powerful systems. But then there's Europe, and they're playing a completely different sport. Their goal isn't necessarily to build the top AI, but to set the global standard for how it's used safely and ethically.
Think of Europe as trying to become the world's AI referee. With these big pieces of legislation like the AI Act, they're not trying to build the fastest car, they're trying to design the racetrack for everyone else. And by setting the rules of the game, they could end up influencing how AI gets built all over the world. In the race for governance, Europe is making a serious play.
Now for the race that's hidden in plain sight, it's the one that underpins everything else we've talked about, the battle for hardware, the very engine of AI itself.
I'm talking about advanced semiconductors. The GPUs, the high-performance chips, they are the absolute lifeblood of modern AI. And whoever controls the supply of these chips, well, they have a massive strategic choke point on literally everyone else. It's become a huge flashpoint in geopolitics today.
This whole global chip supply chain it's an incredibly delicate dance. You've got the US, mostly designing the chips with companies like NVIDIA.
But then Taiwan and South Korea are pretty much the only ones who can actually make them at scale. And China? They see this vulnerability and are pouring insane amounts of money into building their own domestic chip industry. This is a super high-stakes game for control of the very foundation of AI.
Okay, so after looking at all these different fronts, all these different races happening at the same time, let's go back to that first question we asked. Who's really winning? The honest answer is it depends entirely on which race you're watching. There is no single winner because there's no single race. The US, through its corporate labs, is crushing it in raw capability. China is dominating in real-world application. Europe is leading the charge on setting the rules, and a very fragile alliance controls the essential hardware.
And that really forces us to rethink the whole idea of winning, doesn't it? Maybe this obsession with being first, with pure speed, maybe it's completely missing the point. The real challenge might not be about how fast we can build this stuff, but how wisely we do it.
So let's end with this thought. If the ultimate prize isn't just about being first, but about getting it right, then what should victory in the AI race truly look like? Is it about boosting our intelligence without losing our wisdom? Is it about increasing productivity without sacrificing our human dignity? That, right there, might be the only race that truly matters.